Are you ready for that once-in-a-lifetime expedition bucket list cruise? Stay tuned as we do a review of Lindblad Expedition Cruises. My guest today is Mary Ellsworth, a 25-year veteran with Cruise and Travel Experts. Hailing from Seattle, Washington, Mary loves to plan family vacations for her clients in and around Washington and across the country. But she has a passion for luxury travel, grand voyages, and expedition cruising. Hi, Mary. Welcome back to RTE Travel Talk.
Hi,
Oh,
Ken. Thanks for
wonderful to
having
have
me
you with
again.
us. It's great to have you back with us, Mary. So, the last time you were with us, you mentioned that you were taking a cruise with Lindblad Expeditions and National Geographic. If memory serves, it was from Spain to Ireland. Now, that really doesn't sound like an expedition itinerary. So, it definitely piqued our viewers and listeners' interest and curiosity. So I was hoping today we could get together and you can tell us a little bit about Lindblad Expeditions and the cruise that you took. How does that sound?
It sounds great. The cruise was actually though from
Okay.
Bordeaux, France
Well,
to Ireland. Yeah, so a little bit different. We didn't hit Spain,
okay.
unhappily.
Sounds good. So why don't you fill us in a little bit about Lindblad Expeditions and perhaps their connection to National Geographic?
Yeah. So Lindblad Expeditions pretty much are the founders of expedition cruising. They started more than 50 years ago. Gentleman, last name Lindblad, took people to the Antarctic for the first time, or Antarctica, and
Yeah.
then just grew from there. And then in about sometime early 2000s, they thought it was a natural fit to join with National Geographic just because of the focus on the beauty of the world, the wonder of the world, conservation, nature, all those aspects just seemed
Wow.
like a great
Wow.
fit for them.
So where in the world do they
Yeah.
sail as a rule?
They actually
Okay.
sail all over the world. They specialize in expeditions, so you're looking at the Arctic, Antarctica, Galapagos is a huge destination for them, but truthfully,
Right.
they are
So
all over the world.
now, obviously, they specialize in expeditions. How about the ships? Now, what
Mhm.
type of ship did you sail on? How big was it?
So I sailed on the National Geographic Resolution, which is one of the newer ships. She is a Class A polar iced built ship. So she is made to
Okay.
cruise in the polar regions. She only holds about 138 passengers. So not a huge ship, but not small by some
Right.
Galapagos Island type ships and things like that. And she's gorgeous, brand new, all the bells and whistles. So it's
So
it's
she's
terrific.
obviously specifically built for the Arctic and Antarctic regions.
Correct. Yeah.
So if we think about her as an expedition ship, how does it compare to like some of the other expedition ships that you might see, like for example, Silver Sea or Viking ships,
I think most
right?
expedition ships are pretty similar. All of them will have their own little design features that make them special, but they all tend to have what they call the base camps, which is kind of like a glorified mudroom. It's a very nice room where you can store, all your wet boots, jackets, things like that. All of them have the Zodiacs. Most have kayaks, most have paddleboards, some have underwater viewing cameras or boats. And so she's very similar to
Right.
most of
So
them
you
out
should
there.
probably enlighten our viewers and listeners a little bit on just exactly what an expedition cruise is, because it's not your average cruise, is it?
No. So normally what you're doing is you're
Right.
going to smaller destinations, usually destinations that don't have a cruise ship dock. They don't specialize
Right.
in tourism other than the fact that they invite people to come to help with conservations and things like that. Most of the times that you spend on land, you're going to take a Zodiac. You're not going to step off the boat. And sometimes it's a wet landing. Sometimes they take you to a dock on a dry landing, but you're still in a Zodiac. And you just get to hit
Right.
small parts of the
So
world.
a wet landing is the Zodiac pulls up to the beach and you jump out and wade in, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, mind you, wade in, you're
It's
probably
fun.
only ankle deep,
Yeah, usually, and there's always support, people helping you in and out and,
right?
escorting to make sure you make it there safely.
So, like for example, Silver Sea and I know Viking,
Mhm.
they consider their
Uh-huh.
expedition ships luxury. Would you
Yes.
say the same thing about Lindblad and National Geographic ships?
Not all of their ships. Their newer ones, though, the Resolution, the Exploration, those are
Right.
definitely luxury. Probably about half of their ships are on the more luxury end. and then the other half are going to be the smaller, more
Right.
expedition old
So
style
if people
ships.
were thinking of taking something like this, it's important then to get with
Hmm.
an expert travel advisor on this so that you know what type of
Yeah,
ship
to see what the
that you're going
best
to
fit.
be traveling on. Yeah.
Exactly. That is
So
it
tell me a bit,
exactly.
what was the stateroom What was your stateroom like?
It was gorgeous. So
Right.
I had a balcony, and it had it was a great sized room. I'd say about 200 square feet, give or take. Ample storage space, gorgeous bathroom. They have a sitting desk area that they call
Right.
the control center, where you actually have your flat screen TV, but they also give you a
Okay.
tablet. And with the tablet, you can check the daily events, read about the ports, entertainments, what's open when. So it's really neat. You get all this control at
Oh,
your fingertips right there. And you can take the
oh,
tablets out of the room if
fantastic,
you wanted to.
fantastic. Now, you mentioned
Yeah.
entertainment. Now, on a 138 passenger ship, we're not going to have Broadway shows. What did you
No.
find for entertainment on board?
So there really isn't
Right.
entertainment per se. They do have a lounge area. They focus on
Okay.
talks. So you'll have destination specialists, maybe geography, sea life, people who are trained and skilled at what they do. With National Geographic, they always have more than one photographer on board, and they do photography talks, lessons, sometimes even photography excursions. Actually, one day we did have some guides from Wales come on board, and I don't know if you've ever heard the Welsh language; it's very difficult. And they did provide like a little sheet with some of the words, and we're trying to show people how to pronounce them and what they were, and that was fun. But yeah, it's kind of just more local little entertainment things, not necessarily more
Right.
talks than
And I
anything else.
suppose that goes along with the itinerary and the places that you're visiting, right?
Correct.
So kind of makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
Give us a quick overview of this particular itinerary.
It was kind of like a
Okay.
repositioning cruise, getting the ship from one place to another. So we
Right.
started in Bordeaux. We went to Brest, went to Saint Malo. Then we started hitting some of the smaller places like Guernsey and Guernsey Islands. We went to Penzance, which was interesting. We also went to the
Oh,
Isle of
wow.
Scilly. Yeah, it was really neat. And then we also made one stop in Wales, which was great
Oh,
before we hit
fantastic.
Dublin.
So on those particular stops and these landings and stuff, what would you get up to?
So Lindblad offered normally at least three
Right.
tours per city, and they varied. It could be there was a lot of historic tours on this one
Hmm.
because of all the castles. So there was a lot of castle focused tours, which were incredible. They
Right.
also had some nature walk. They had it, like I mentioned, some photography excursions, and you just pick from one of those and you do that tour. And it
Hmm.
depends on where you're at. If it's an all day tour or a half a day tour, it just
Oh,
varies
great.
depending.
So because this was kind of a
Yeah.
repositioning cruise, did it vary somewhat from what they normally do? Because you talked about tours of castles and stuff. So I'm assuming there wasn't probably as
Yep.
many wet landings or Zodiac landings on this one.
We
Hmm.
didn't have any wet landings. We did take the Zodiacs from the ship to a dock
Oh, did you?
in most places. We did, yeah. So it was kind of interesting. Some of
Yeah.
these docks were really teeny, but they were right in the heart of the city. So it was easy to get around once you were off. The tours, depending on where they took you, were motor coaches that took you like to the castles. Did a couple of castles in one place where you actually hopped from castle to castle. Uh, so, uh, and then of course, like I mentioned, there were some hikes that they took as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Well, that's really, really
Yeah.
interesting. So what was your favorite of all of them? What was your
Neat.
favorite excursion?
There was a few of them. Mont Saint Michel, which is a lot of people
Yep.
know that it's an abbey. It's
Yep.
actually a small little island that is a township, and they built an abbey on it, and it's
Yep.
absolutely gorgeous. The views are amazing. It's just something you have to see once at least. And then, really strange, but we went to the Trusco Gardens on the Isle of Scilly, and it's a private little garden, and it was such a great tour walk. I mean, the visuals, the photography, of course, was incredible. So those were probably two of my favorites.
Wow, wow, that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming you probably would not recommend this for folks with mobility issues, or or if you do, how do they handle that?
So for the most part, yeah, you
Right?
have to be kind of active, pretty mobile to be on board. Though we did have one poor lady who, I don't know if she broke her foot the
Oh
day
no.
before or
Yeah.
right at the airport or something, but she had a broken foot, had a wheelchair that they got for her, and they were incredible about getting her on and off the Zodiac, helping her. so that she didn't get stuck on the ship. So they are there to help you, but I think mobility issues can be a little tiresome, could
Right.
be a little
Yeah.
hard on some people. But they also try to cater some of the tourists more towards, hey, this one is more active. You may not want to take this if you can't walk long distances. So they try to have those kind of
Right.
options available. They actually have some kids programs, especially in the Galapagos, Alaska, where they really try to educate and get kids involved in what's going on and teach the kids
So is
about
there an
conservation.
age range for kids that they allow on board?
I think
Hmm.
it depends on the destination. Galapagos, they can be a little bit younger, but on
Right.
average, I'd say about 12
Yeah.
would be about the youngest.
And it's, based on where they're going and what they're doing, it's a fabulous,
Yeah,
fabulous educational experience for kids.
it really is. Yeah.
So overall, who would you recommend this cruise line to?
Anybody who has a little bit of adventure in them, that want to see unique itineraries, that wants to experience more of the culture. Sorry about that. It's very important lifestyles. It could be really
Okay.
any age group. Just anybody with a zest for that little life visual to
So
see
if you've
something
got the
different.
zip and the mobility, you're good to go.
Pretty much.
So talk to me a little bit about how Lindblad, for example, stacks up against Viking and some of the other ones. For example, like what's included in
Yeah.
your fare? Is it all, would it be considered all inclusive, or is it plus plus?
It's not all inclusive. Most of the newer ships include all beverages. Of course, all dining
Right.
is included across the board. Excursions are included on all of the ships. Wi-Fi was not included,
Hmm.
so that is an extra cost. But again, it just depends on which ship. The newer ships are a
Right.
little more inclusive than the others. They do not include the airfare on most occasions. Every once in a while, they might have a promotion that has air included from your gateway. Sometimes inter-trip air would be included
Right.
depending on,
Right.
again, where you are.
Now, intertrip air, for the benefit of reviewers and listeners, is what?
So, for example,
Yeah.
I keep bringing up the Galapagos,
Yes.
but that's the easiest way. Like you fly to Ecuador, that might be on your dime, but then to Ecuador to the Galapagos would
Right.
be
Right.
included.
Yeah. What about gratuities? Okay.
Gratuities were
Okay.
included as well. Sorry, thank you.
So in terms
Yeah,
of price point compared to similar
yeah.
cruise lines and itineraries, how do you think that they stack up, Mary?
I think they are very competitive. It depends on locations. Some of the cruise lines that offer air is going
Of
to be more
course.
expensive than a Lindblad, but their
Right.
price
So they're
points are
they're all
really good.
comparable then.
Exactly.
Now, on 138 passenger ships, I would assume that they
Uh-huh.
probably sell out fairly quickly, especially the more higher end cabins and that sort of thing. How far ahead
Yeah.
should you consider booking if you're looking at a Lindblad cruise?
We
Right.
always say the earlier the better. A good year and a half out is always a good idea, just so you get your best selections of cabins. Sometimes even tours can fill up quickly. Very rarely do they sell out, but if you want your definite first choices of things, it's always a good
Okay.
idea to book
Okay.
early.
So year and a half. Well, Mary, this is
Yep.
absolutely super information. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else that you'd like to touch on before we wrap up with regard to?
I do. Actually, we had this unique
Yeah.
experience on this ship. They have these things called igloos.
Okay.
There's two of them, and they're on the top of the ship, and they look exactly like a small igloo. It's complimentary, first come, first serve basis, where you can spend the night in an igloo outside. And it was so great because we got
Yeah.
lucky enough to be able to do it. They take us up to the igloo before the evening ends, or in the mid afternoon to show us the bedding. They ask us what we want for coffee in the morning because they give you a wake up call. And then they tell you how to get to the bathroom and, the little tricks and trades. So we actually slept, and the igloo is partially visual, so you can actually see the sky. I guess it's, especially
Yeah.
fantastic in Antarctica. The bed, they had these extremely warm water bottles because
Right.
the room is
Yeah.
not heated. And we weren't in a very cold destination, but, they had these warm water bottles. They had these huge robes and jackets that you could tuck into. And the igloos are also right next to the hot tub outside. So you can jump in the hot tub and then jump in your igloo and then settle down for the night. And it was such a fun experience. So yeah, that's definitely
Wow.
unique
Yeah, I
to
guess it
Lindblad.
is. That's quite something.
Yeah,
That's probably not available on all the ships, maybe just the newer ones, right?
just the newer
Yeah.
ones. Yep, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Any other than that, just getting an idea of
Hmm.
destinations that you want to visit is the best way to start. A lot of the expedition travels
Right.
are bucket lists. So again, getting starting on those is always a great idea so
Exactly,
you can hit them.
exactly. Well, Mary, that's absolutely wonderful. If folks wanted to reach out to you
Mhm.
about a cruise with Lindblad or another bucket list vacation, what's
Yep.
the best way to get hold of you?
They can always email me. Unhappily, my email's long. It's my first initial M and then Ellsworth Ellsworth at cruise and travel
Right?
experts all spelled out.com, or they could just go to the Cruise and Travel Experts website and find us. And then we also have our 800 number, which is 800 632
Fantastic,
3659.
fantastic. I'll leave that contact information
Yeah,
in the description for folks that wanted to reach out. Now, I have to ask,
thank you.
as I always do, because part of
Yeah,
your job is traveling to lots of other
try these ships.
destinations so that you can learn about them.
Yeah.
Where are you off to next?
So I've got 2 trips planned coming up. I'm doing an inaugural for the new Celebrity
Okay,
Ascent ship. That's coming up, yep, at the end of October, early November, or sorry, end of November, early December. And then right after, I'm doing one of the new Virgin Voyages cruises. So I'm going to experience them for the first time, which I'm excited about.
fantastic, fantastic. Well, we'll have to have you back
Yeah,
with your adventures on board that brand new celebrity ship. I'd be looking forward to hear all about that.
great. I'd love to tell you.
Sounds like a plan.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, Mary, with that,
All
I'm
right.
just going to wish you safe and happy travels on all your future cruises and adventures. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see you on the Lido deck sometime soon. Take
Sounds
care.
good. Thank you again.
And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guest, Mary Ellsworth of Cruise and Travel Experts. If you'd like to reach Mary, I will leave her contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach us with a suggestion for a future interview or a question, you can simply send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com. Visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps us to spread the word. So until next time, happy travels!